Craig, how have you been?
Good, mate. Yeah, just living, learning, having some fun away from the game.
Oh, man, so we'll go right back to the start, mate, like I do with most people. So, where was home for you as a kid, and who lived at home with you?
Home for me was Wigan, and that
Yeah,
looked like mum, dad, sister, and whatever pet she was walking that week. So she'd be walking around the state with a rabbit on a lead or a guinea pig on a lead, or all
yeah.
because she weren't allowed a dog until she got older and more responsible.
So, where does that competitive edge come from, mate? Or when did you find yourself wanting to play a competitive sport?
I'm not too sure whether it was the competitive side of it that got me, because I think if you ask me now, which he tells everybody about. If you went and watched me at a kid's sports day, I weren't that competitive kid early ages. I think it was more the team side of it, being part of a team. Um, yeah, so that's what got me into it more than anything. Being part of a group of people. Do you know, with that same aim stuff. And you know, you don't think about that as a kid, but like say, if I'd have pursued an individual sport, something like boxing or mixed martial arts, something like that, I don't think I'd have enjoyed it as much because I think I like sharing the moment with people.
Yeah, no, mate. Do you know what? We probably do think the collective idea is probably what is in our minds, but not to the extent of what you just said. No, at a young age, like. So, what was your first chosen sport, mate? Because Wigan predominantly is rugby league, in it, but football sort of was taking off big time as well. When it they were climbing leagues and stuff.
Yeah, I was one of those ignorant kids, mate, who was blind to football and all that because I just wanted to play for Wigan Warriors. So, yeah, it probably would have been rugby. From around, well, my story in rugby starts where most people's finish crying. So, my first session was at 7, cried my eyes out. My mum took me parts, not because she took me parts, probably would now, but yeah, so it was a cold one. It was winter rugby back then, so I wasn't bawling my eyes out when it sat with my feet on heaters in car. So that's where it come from. And then a year later,
Yeah,
a few months later, when it got a little bit warmer, I went back, but went down to Wigan St Cuthberts.
right. So, what would where would your schoolmates have played at for you to have gone the Pats
Oh,
originally? Always Pats close to home.
I think it's just one of those. You grew up in Wigan. Back then, there was a conspiracy theory that you would only make it if you was from Pats back then. So I think it was just one of those moments, and I think Stu Pryor, who was heavily involved in Pats. I went to school with his lad, Wales. So I think it was one of those. Do you know, 7-year-old Portian. Good Pats, that's place for you. So I
Yeah,
think as most kids do growing up in Wigan, it's Pats, if it's St Helens, it's Blackbrook,
yeah.
Widnes. Well, I'll not offend you at Widnes. I don't know which side you are. So Mary's or
No, yeah.
Moorfield
No,
or
well,
Alton.
initially, the Maddies was formed because our Moorfield team didn't quite disband, but we are like most of us left. And then it's mad. I don't know if it's whether you've come across it, but when we all left because we played for town team, we weren't all allowed to sign for the same team
Oh,
because we
really?
were classed as rep players even at 10 or 11. So I
It's
went and
crazy
played for
that for the game, isn't it?
yeah, it was like you remember when Barwood and someone else was back at Northwest Counties, they couldn't get on with stuff. So they all had different comps and that, mate. So we had to like go to some appeal to try and play rugby league. They wouldn't let me sign for them, so I had to go all the way for the year. And then the Maddies got set up then. So because I broke away from the game, we were allowed to play rugby league then. But it's a bit brutal, really, isn't it? It's kids to kids at that age.
Crazy some of the rules you see and come across, isn't there, when it comes to like getting kids involved in sport now. We're begging kids for jump into like any form of sport, whether it be a team sport or not, in it. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's mad for think that there's all those rules. Even when you like, I know we'll get onto it, but like say academy rugby, like preventing a player from moving to another club and stuff, and then you see participation drop off again, don't you? So from like that
yeah.
18s, 19s back into that open age and stuff. And then they end up doing full cycle, don't they? Coming back to the game at open age a couple of years later after having it, still leaving a bit of taste in the mouth from, you know, like playing academy rugby and going. And then you realise you want that team, that camaraderie, that brotherhood again.
Yeah, they sort of probably get let down at that level, like you said, which we'll talk about. I suppose at younger age, you don't really get the politics, do you? But unfortunately, as we get older, we see it, don't we? So when you went to Cuthberts, mate, what was the reasoning behind going to the Cuthberts?
Cuthberts was my local club, yeah. So I didn't really have any pals there then. It was a matter of going fresh start for everyone. I think it was one of those new teams starting up type feels, and we all went, and then that we clicked. It was real good. Enjoyed it. I remember having first game at top end at first team pitch and stuff like that. You know, when you have those strange memories, you know, like core memory type
Yeah.
thing. Remembering playing at Cuthberts was one of them. One of my fondest memories from all my all my career. I remember certain days where all your mates are packed out, you're playing clock first manners or something like that, and you're getting a win there, kicking a goal from 30, 40 metre out. You're buzzing there, aren't you? Not worried about
Yeah.
out.
Do you know what I bring up to people, mate? I don't know if you remember. And remember, like, might not have done. I'm a lot older than you, like I said, but you used to have picture cards, and you'd have to
Yeah,
line up,
standing
and they
alarm.
go whether you're old enough. Yeah, yeah. You'd have lads look like they've been smoking for 5 years and that, wouldn't you? And got a tattoo and stuff, and you're just
Yeah,
still
no way.
waiting first. Yeah. But no, it is. It's mad what you remember in it, because probably, mate, fundamentally, that's why you start playing, because you love playing. It's only when you hit the levels you do it gets a bit twisted on you, doesn't it?
And I think that's why I've just said, I touched on it before we jumped on about going full circle. And again, you're reaching out from my LinkedIn and stuff like that. I did have a little trip down Rugby League memory lane and looking at my old pictures and just having a laugh of when it was just the game and nothing else. Like you said, there's the difficulties of it. Your hobby becoming your job. You lose a bit of that, don't you, for yourself? So I think that's why I'm looking at going back into it. Again, being part of a group, having a laugh, enjoying the game for what it was, because it is a good game. We've got quite the spectacle, haven't we?
I imagine the higher you go, Craig, like you can't enjoy the other stuff that comes with it, can you? Now with camera phones and fans of all clubs now in it, mate. You can live in Wigan. You've probably got Leigh fans or Salford fans. So say you're having a pint and someone gobs off at you and you tell them F off, mate. Straight
Yeah,
on socials in it, and you're straight down into a meeting. And
yeah, it's that anti-social media in it for you. So it's got its pros, it's got its cons. I think as a professional athlete, again, you can brand yourself like you see many players doing now. You see them on like TikTok and stuff like that. I think we're in a good time for it, but there's that downside to it. Until you can't, you're the ultimate. You're always got to be the ultimate professional, but sometimes when you do just want to switch off and not be that rugby player, there was that. There is that. I mean, we've all had our stories and so on. So
oh, you'd have, mate, and it's obviously, hopefully, like you said, with the thing people are doing, like lads are doing their own accounts and that, and a day in the life of. Hopefully, people understand, like, you can't be on the pedestal all the time. You're just human. You've got families, you've got mates, you've got lives. I mean, yeah, rugby's just a part of you. It's not you in the entirety.
I think that's where we miss a trick really, because rugby players are accessible. If I said to you now, go and bump into five witness players, you'd head into town, or you'd go where, do you know, like say coffee shops and places like that. How many times can you say that? You could probably go 5, 10 years without bumping into a professional footballer. So I don't think we actually jump on the back of that as much as we should really when it comes to our sport and what we have. Like, it is quite a small town. Some people, like, if you speak to a lot of rugby union, like they'd say tin pot, wouldn't they? But I think we are accessible rugby players. And I don't think they utilise it as much, and I think that's where a lot of Wigan's success is coming from at the minute. There's a real community feel about it. You feel like you're part of their journey and what they're going on, and yeah, it's. I think we could definitely utilise it a lot more. We are a working class sport for the working class people, and yeah, there's not many times is that you get they said don't bump into your heroes and stuff like that, but you do when it comes to rugby league, don't you? And you probably end up going playing with them. Like a lot of the names you
Yeah.
mentioned before, you end up sharing a field, sharing a pitch with them, and sharing a changing room, sharing a pub with them, sharing a boozer.
I know it's mad. A kid shouldn't have to stand outside of a training ground all day to get a photo at a car door, should they?
On the off chance that
Really?
like they need to. I know,
Yeah.
like
They
it's
even stop for them.
large.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's sad, isn't it? So, mate, was any town team stuff come your way?
We did. So one of the actual only fixtures we did play. So I did rep the town team. I think that's what's that like under 11s, is it something like that? We played one of
Yeah,
our
right.
only
Yeah.
competitive fixtures against Widnes ourselves, and I remember that um, being buzzing with it. I've actually got the letter in my bag. You know, we're talking about old player cards and stuff. Went through all my old certificates trying to look for my GCSEs and stuff for that. the real world of work, job applying and stuff like that. Come across all these certificates, Crunch Tackle Award and stuff like that.
Nice.
But yeah, that's mad.
And would that have predominantly been Pats players that?
That was it. We was at a time of where I think that theory around Pats being the only team that you could make it from kind of started dying a little bit of a death, and not everyone was drawn to Pats. So it was a mixed bag. Still bump into the lads now when we're out and about and stuff. They've all got kids. They're up to something different now and things like that. So there's a lot of Jude's lads, a lot of Cuthberts lads, Pat's lads, one or two Chevy here and there. There's a bit of an inconsistency around our age for Wigan teams. So when I went on to moving from Cuthberts, I ended up going to the dark side and playing for Blackbrook. But that's later on. And then when we did play against your Widnes, it was literally built up of the two sides, like you said, Moorfield and Marys. I think we played two competitive games, one down at Wigan St Cuthberts and one over at Moorfield. Again, they're one of those things with very fond memories. Not as superstitious as most people, but a number that stuck with me through my playing career and just through life in general, like number 19. So back then I was an hooker. They had no number 9 jersey because somebody stole it here before. So I was wearing the number. I know. So I was wearing the number 19. So that
Yeah,
says how much money was
Pats.
invested
Yeah.
into Wigan
Just have the
Town
big
team. I
old
think those
stag
were
kit.
the
Remember them? They were dead heavy
yeah.
kits, weren't they? Your
It was
passive
like
ones.
it kind of emulated the old Norway one. It looked like one of those what we was wearing. You know, still
Right.
the collar and someone had chewed the little rubber button for about 80 minutes apparently. So yeah, I remember playing Widnes, and then that was the first real taste of it becoming really competitive. Because then the following year, cups and competitions and come into it.
So a few things, mate. What were you like as a kid in that new environment? Were you okay or?
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I was quite the. I'd say it's still very much my personality now. I do like going into new challenges and being part of teams and new people, meeting new stuff. So when you reached out, I was buzzing. I thought, oh, belting! I can chew someone else's ear off now, bore him sleep for night. So
Doors open for it.
I love that. Yeah, I feel like whilst maybe my playing career might not reflect it as much, but I did enjoy the more higher pressure, higher risk reward type games because I thought there was more on the line, which that kind of really got me buzzing. So anytime it was like a rep game or there's something on the line, opposed to like those little exhibition type matches and stuff like that, I really like. Even as a kid, when it come to those, when you'd have tournaments that weren't as competitive and it was just sort of get people playing and warmed up and stuff, I weren't really for it, which I probably didn't even realise. There probably is more of a competitive nature to me than I make out.
With Wigan striving, but you just named 4 or 5 teams. Did you have like a Wigan Cup sort of thing? Because we didn't really, well, we didn't have a Witness Cup. We only had like Moorfield and West Bank when I was growing up.
Yeah, no. Other than it coming into we there'd be regular festivals. So at the time, I think we were blessed in that we had really good like coaches and volunteers of our ages. So there's quite a few dads of lads who played with us. Like I said, Stu would have been over at Pats and stuff like that. We had Keith and Chris who were I played alongside the lads Owen and Josh. And then same at Jude's, Wardy's dad and stuff like that. They took the sides and stuff over there. So there was quite a competitive nature between it, and one of those that he was really proud for the green and yellow Cuthberts or who's maroon and gold of Jude's. But as far as like competition and that goes, it was basically like your tournaments, just venturing out, and then we did take quite a few. So I'm very grateful of both clubs being at Cuthberts and then going to Blackbrook later on that we did go and put our hands up for a lot of the stuff, because we was that tight knit of a group, like parents as well. We'd holiday together. We went on X amount of holidays together when I was part of Cuthberts, and then same happened when we went to Blackbrook. We like toured France and stuff. So it was because I think it wasn't pushed as much by like say Northwest counties and things like that, but driven by those volunteers who genuinely uphold the game at the bottom end of the foundation stages of rugby league for me.
No, they definitely do. There's no game without them, whether it's the ref or the coach or whoever marks your pitch and washes your kit. And like the kit would get washed by like, or how we done it. whatever jersey, you tended to wear the same jersey, didn't you, Craig? So number one's family would wash it week 1 and 2, 3, and everyone they like. Imagine if your mum forgot the shorts or something, she'd be stressing, wouldn't she? You'd all be playing in your speedos and that. But that's what it's about, isn't it?
Leggings, us. We was in mum's tights, us.
Yeah.
We didn't have money for them like fancy leggings like kids do now. We were in my mum's tights, me triple layered up.
You're a lot slimmer than me, mate. You probably fitted in them. So, what was you like transition wise into high school? How did you find that, and where did you go, mate?
I went over to what was Abram Guest at the time. It was on the main road. As you get off the motorway junction, literally a stone's throw away from our local rival, St Peter's. It's now Dean Trust and relocated. It's completely revamped. I did do a little stint there in my working career
My
for a
sister
little
did, you know.
while. Oh yeah,
Yeah. My sister
over at
taught
Peter's.
art there, yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
who's your sister? Sorry.
Mm.
Oh, we'll get
Miss
on to it.
Sowins. Yeah,
Oh
yeah, Miss
yeah,
Sowins. Yeah.
Becky Sowens.
Uh,
Oh, lovely.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, small
Oh
world,
wow.
mate, innit?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
deserves the Blue Peter badge for teaching her. But yeah, the
To tell her I
transition into
spoke to you,
art.
mate, she'll be chuffed. They good building
Yeah,
that, mate,
definitely. I
innit?
hope
Top
she's good.
school, that.
Yeah, it is fancy bit of kit. She's over
Yeah.
in St Helens now.
No witness.
Oh, she got back to
Yeah, so
the
she
whole
teaches at the school we used to go to now. Yeah, yeah. So the school we went, she teaches at.
We're creatures of habits, aren't we? Making our way back to
That's it,
where it
mate.
all
Yeah,
starts.
that's it.
Crazy.
That's it. So
But
what
yeah,
was the school that would the so it was St John Fisher with a better Wigan school when I was playing.
yeah, see, they've always had a rich history, and they're very proud of it. They're going through a school transition at the moment, and they've still got pictures up of all those, and they've got the team they'd be able to field. If you ask them to do a 1 to 13, wow, it probably end up winning comp. It's got
That'd be
some.
strong,
It's
wouldn't it?
got
Yeah.
now. If I bring you to our school, Abram Guest. I think you could, Stefan Ratchford. Yeah, Stefan Ratchford. Yeah, I think that's it. So we had the likes of Steph and a couple of players who like touched in on like the fringes of clubs and stuff like that. Myself and things like that. But yeah, the transition to our school will come at a time when I was moving clubs myself. So like I said, I moved to the dark side and went to Blackbrook, playing in St Helens as a 12, 13 year old. So we did like a winter season straight into a summer season as our first season. So we got quite the amount of fixtures behind us. All that come at a time when moving into high school, games started getting competitive, and like it was like stitched into us that you'd stayed at Cuthberts or you stayed at Jude's or you stayed at Pat's because it got competitive like that. And Cuthberts' parents all went on holiday, Pat's parents all went on holiday. So for me, leave was a bit like it was just yeah. At times it would have been difficult for like somebody going through those changes like high school into a new club and stuff like that. So I did get the cold shoulder for quite a while, but it come back to it once our own team was up and running within school and that it was all gone and forgotten. Then it was all old news because we had our own final sort of mate with school and things like that, which on paper we didn't have the best side at school, but we achieved way higher than we should. It took us till year 11 in our last game for win a game, win a final at school, but we made like I think we made 3 national semis, 2 Northwest finals. We made the Wigan and Leigh every year,
It's
and the
ongoing
last one
though,
we
Craig,
won.
isn't it?
Yeah, on it, like I said, other than rep players, I think there was myself, one lad at Salford Academy reserves, one lad at Widnes who played scholarship. Other than that, we were just made up of like football team with cricket team and cricket team with Gaelic team. So I think it was just chipping in for each other, having a laugh that we did love it that much. So we ended up losing our first final to Fisher, and then we didn't see him again for 5 years. That was it for Fisher. They just I don't know. They
Away a
they
bit.
shut the wall first, yeah, early.
Yeah.
And then teams come and went through our school career. Like there was St Peter's and Paul's over here where we played them in a
Yeah.
Northwest finals, I think. Built up of a lot of the Widnes scholarship lads. And I think because they spent so much time together and they had the whole, they played amateur rugby together, they played scholarship rugby together, they all went to school together. You could tell there was a team, there was a side, and it showed on pitch, and we ended up losing a final to them as well. I think it was like 8-4. I'm not even sure there was any tries. I think it was all goals.
Some game that though, then, isn't it? When you
Yeah, it
can't
was at
break each other
Wilderspool.
down fundamentally.
Yeah, it was one of the last games at Wilderspool.
Oh,
I
was
think
it?
it might have been. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
remember
quite
it
good
quite a
though.
good
That's a
game.
good start. That.
I know, yeah. So that was the introduction into school, high school life. Entertaining.
So why'd you end up going Brook, mate? What was the story behind that?
um, club club politics and stuff like that. It's all good now with people and
Yeah,
things like that. Laugh it off, don't you? And you go, "Oh, all for the sake of a kid's game," but a matter of a part of it, people in your ear going, "You won't make it from here." Whereas hindsight's a wonderful thing. If you look back now, we got if you had the ability, you'd have made it, and
yeah,
so on. But there was no like when people say, "Oh, you were poached," and there was this and that, and we built a super team. We didn't build a super team over at Blackbrook. I just didn't want to be the person who left Wigan St Cuthberts and went to Wigan St Jude's or Wigan St Pats, or I think Oral had a team there or thereabouts in leagues couple lower. Like I said, there was only Wigan St Cuthberts in top league at the time. Jude's were league below, Pats were probably one below them, and Oral were in that second league. So made the decision to stay in the league, you know, at the highest part, and tried a couple sessions at places, and I think I just fell in love with Blackbrook and the lads there, and I'm still good mates with a handful of them now. So yeah, I remember going and having a session on their backfield just across the road from where they play now, across from the school and stuff. And yeah, it was class. It was a sunny day. Everything went well. We had played played with Josh Ganson all the way through, so his dad was heavily involved in our coaching, and he was kind of adopting a lot of the stuff he was learning and watching from the game and implementing it into our sessions and their own sessions that they was doing a refereeing. And he was quite the character for to spend your teenage years with Ganson. He was public enemy number one for quite a while, wasn't he? In Hull, in
yeah. It was.
Leeds,
Yeah,
in St Helens, in Wigan, in Wake, everywhere he went. So any away game we had, someone would stick a bumper sticker on his car, or there'd be a
yeah,
scarf off his wind mirrors, and he copped a bit of flack, but it was all fun with him. He's a cracking bloke, and
yeah.
he played pantomime villain a few times.
Oh, I can imagine, mate. You should have walked around with them glasses with the fake nose and the muddy attached, shouldn't he? Should have walked around with them on. Do you know what though, mate? It's like straight away you've been challenged really early, haven't you? So like your school team is pretty good, but it's a team that mucks in, so you've probably got someone that plays up front on the wing or a keeper at full back, just for examples. And then you've not quite found your place at Cuthbert, albeit very young and weren't keen on conditions and stuff. And then you've been willing to move, settled in on a new setup team, haven't you? And you've gone to Blackbrook. So your school team's excelling, and you've gone to a club that's probably really established and excelling without you anyway. So you've give yourself three early challenges there before you were even like 13, 14.
I think that's what you do it for, though, isn't it? I was that child back then. I did live, breathe rugby league. Like people talk about the first drink and stuff like that, and other than necking a few dregs of my dad's bottles or whatever when I was about 6 or 7, do you know what you do when you find a few bottles and you think it's funny, pretend to have a picture with it? That wasn't me through high school or teen years. I was strict on myself. It probably should have.
You all wanted to be a
Yeah,
Wigan player.
I wanted
Yeah.
to be at that time a Wigan Warrior, despite leaving, and I thought that was the best track to it. Go and play part of a. So people say this all the time. I did give myself the challenge of that, both in the sporting aspect and then moving into high school with new group of mates, stuff like that, and then left my rugby team. Thought I'd go to St Helens, but yeah, probably because I wanted the better of it for myself, and enjoying a challenge. It's probably a matter of getting too comfortable in places, probably not being too good, too comfortable. I like that. Probably that next step, foot move on, and that again we can touch back on it later on when the opportunity to either stay at Leigh and make the move to Newcastle. That I do tend to seek out that. Like I said, right now I'm in the middle of changing positions and jobs and just accepted a new offer, a new position which I'm buzzing about. Going to go and do some good over in Merseyside within education, outside of schooling though. So again, I do like the idea of a challenge, and I think it's that idea of like constantly like learning. You're learning about you, and you know you don't notice it. I'm not saying I knew all this when I was then, but the idea of going over to St Helens, being the completely new kid, and being part of some like we finished higher than them that year. People argue till the blue in the face with me saying that you glory hunted. They won it that year. They didn't actually win anything, Blackbrook, until I went. And that I'm not claiming that on me. It was a really good team. But Cuthberts finished second, joint
Yeah.
second that year. And I think Clockface won the league maybe. Um, and we could have took the league if we hadn't drew first game with Leigh East,
All right.
uh,
Well, like you said
which I've
later
left
on, we'll
with.
speak. Yeah, it's mad, isn't
Yeah.
it?
So full circle type thing, yeah. But yeah, I think we do strive for it, don't we? As players, like we do like the challenge, don't we? Like no one likes
Yeah.
them blow games, do you? When it's 60 odd 0 or it's 40
Oh, you
20
get no out of them, do you?
So I think that's probably what I was trying to do, unknowingly at the time. I probably just wanted like a breath of fresh air, no politics into it. And I thought I was going into a side where it weren't that, but then that come with its own issues is when people start getting offered scholarships and people don't. And being part of a team where 16 out of 17 lads at the time were on a scholarship, it can become that, can't it? Because you're not only competing with yourself, you're competing with people in similar position and stuff like that. So when you've got such a good team there, and we had quite a good run after it. I think we did the summer league. We ended up going 95 games unbeaten across up to like 15 from me joining. It's something I'm very proud of. Whenever we get back together or bump into anyone, whether it be at Billing Jams or having a catch up with lads over at Finged, run a footing out through summer, and a couple of lads accessed it there.
Like a 7-a-side
And
thing, yeah.
just like a social and wellbeing session, so just free of charge at local Cuthbert, like Cuthberts again, going back down to Cuthberts. I think because of that real sense of community within rugby league, reached out to someone down there. They let us use the fields. Thought just run a little men's social and wellbeing footy nights, so alternative to going having a drink or going watching Champions League or when everything seems to be associated around the booze and things like that. So just offered that, and a couple of lads had come over. A couple of lads even just reached out and said it's a mint idea what you're doing and stuff like that. So. We're constantly always just like looking out for each other from afar. I think like you might not be on phone to each other like I don't know like you do every day. You still see and celebrate what those players do. Like again, one of the lads who I've not seen for ages off LinkedIn. Bump back into him from on LinkedIn and stuff like that. So and it's you get chatting. It's like you've never been apart because you've got those memories from those years
Oh,
younger.
mate, it's Craig, isn't it? Yeah,
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 sharing those memories, isn't it? Celebrating
yeah.
each other as well as what you've done along the way, and that.
No, definitely, mate. And actually, mate, later on we'll chat about that because that's not a bad thing to get out there, the sort of stuff you've set up. And if anyone wants to go or where they can find you and that, we'll
Yeah,
chat about that, fella. So when that rep stuff comes round, mate, because you're officially playing in St Helens at this point. Um, so at my age group, you had to live in the area that you represented. So we had a few lads that say they were living at nan and granddad's or aunties and uncles
yeah.
in other towns to play for Blackbrook or anyone else. Did you have to do that, or did you always represent Wigan, that service
No, that
area and stuff?
yeah, service area probably would have been a little bit closer to the town team side, so that would have been Wigan and Leigh. A lot of that was done over at Standish and Lawton, but the sides were, I think there's a lot changing, wasn't there? Because I think that's when academy rugby first started changing and stuff. So I think everything kind of took a little bit of a knock back, and we were the Northwest, so we were regionals, the regionals development squad, and we were made up of probably the spine of that good Widnes side that had a town team, that good St Helens side that thingy, and then the Wigan lads. It was quite the good mix, and then we'd go and play over in Yorkshire. So it was So it was like the Northwest versus like to the Yorkshire type leagues players. So it was more like league based, which again made it even more interesting when you was going playing those competitive games in your Northwest or you was back in our leagues and stuff like that because
Yeah.
it was a real chance to. It was like trial based, so it was kind of old school. So for us, when we did town team, it was like up to Foster's Fields, which was Pat's owned or had at the time. Um, this was like a similar type thing, all to one field, were a number, quite like old schooly, which right now I can't imagine them because there's loads of development squads and rising stars teams and stuff like that, and they're constantly being monitored from really, really early ages, aren't they? So it was fun to still be a part of that process and get a taste of that stuff. So again, that's one of the things I've got in there for the Northwest, the XIII or whatever it is, and so I've still got it all. So it's something that I am proud of. Yeah, I was very, very fortunate in that I still had all of that stuff. I still had a clear, good pathway when it come to a rep side. I did make every rep side through my younger careers all the way up to making it into a scholarship and stuff like that. So I'm very grateful that there was people willing enough to volunteer the time and stuff like that. Like I say, there were players and coaches, like first team players and coaches from like say Pats and Judes at the time. I remember like Chris Brown and Ian Gilder was actually our town team coach and stuff like that. So it was like they was all still paying it back for what they did, which probably we don't get to as much now, do we? Because again, participation's probably a little bit not what it once was.
On the lower end. So when you
Yeah.
went through them levels, mate, because you're a laid back lad, are you still enjoying that challenge? And how far did you go with like England Academy and anything like that, Craig?
Yeah, yeah. So after, is it school? But which way around is it there? Because it says it's school. So our under 16s, I repped our under 16s England. We actually, I was again, I've been very, very. I must have been a good lad in a past life or something like that. I got the opportunity to play for England in France
Right.
at the 16s, is it? In my GCSE year, which again, you constantly hear the old, but your GCSEs. And so I was fortunate in that I did have all of that stuff to relieve you from the exam stress and things like that. Yeah, I'll be a rugby player, I'll be grand. And then when I was back, it was yeah, I'll nail this. Very proud of being like say Ed Boy and stuff for school. People said be there with Shannon and Apple and leaving it on teacher's desk and that, but it weren't a case of that. It was because I did put my hand up for everything and wanted to represent anyone and everything and do my best at it. So again, because I think because I enjoyed that kind of stuff, representing and like going networking. So that's why I really like it sparked me up taking on this new role now that I've just accepted because there's the opportunity to go and network and meet new people and businesses and that sort of stuff. So going to those training days I buzzed for just for hear what a Clockface lads doing or what a Oral St James's lads doing or what a Pats lads doing and getting a chance to go and play with them and that's what you do it for the game and at that point was it was prime time for me loving the game, really keen, chat all the time, chat rubbish, chat rugby, chat. I just chatted all. It probably quite boring for people as we got older. You're like, oh, novelty will wear off, novelty will wear off. But
Do you
it
know
had
what,
an
mate?
end.
Though it's all part of the story. I enjoy it, me, mate, because it is what makes you you. Whether lads want to admit that or not, but like
Yeah,
you'll remember your first coaches, you'll remember probably your first injury or the
you
first
remember?
time you had a
It's
big
those
win together
feelings,
and
isn't
stuff.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the feeling of that. So, like, say, even the first game where you don't beat Pats because Pats are that team. I remember being under what was it, number nines, under tens, and all of us celebrating because we beat Pats 30-18 and we're spraying our Powerades or something, Gatorade, whatever it was. But you
yeah,
do those memories that stick with you, and I think
of
that
course you
it's the
do.
game, it's the amateur game that awards you that and
Yeah,
lets you come back to it. So you find numerous lads who go and have a run out now. So I bet there's a number of lads played over at Widnes for you, and I bet there's a number of lads that go and play at Marys or Moorfield at Open Age because when you when the burden of the job falls off, you love the game ultimately, and you love what the game gives you. So I did love it. I was a proper rugby nerd. I'd have had pictures with anyone that I'd have ended up playing with as I got older. There'd be some cringy pictures of a spotted, long-haired me.
that's what it's about, mate. And it definitely is about that. And do you know what? You've earned the right to be like that because you've sacrificed from a young age. Like you said, the ale didn't bother you, the parties. Girl, you were purely wanted to be a Wigan Warrior. So you've earned the right to be like that, mate. Don't ever be like apologetic for being like that.
Yeah, be unapologetically you, and that's what I would set at young guns now. If you do love it and you're serious about it, have a crack at it. Don't don't be worried about being the person still out passing ball against pads and whatever it be, or practicing your sprint technique. Like say, it's like a detriment to him. Is Tom Davis loved it, loved the game, and I can't admire him enough for how much he actually was just willing to learn and willing to better himself and stuff like that. And I remember he'd come to us as an academy player. I think I might have been first year. I must still have been first year. Really keen for to show him round, and he's year above us, and he was just thirsty. Like he just wanted just more, and he used it. He used it to his advantage. Anything that got offered to him, he'd take it. And like I say, he'd either a coach, and even if they couldn't be honest with him, they couldn't say no to him because he was that hungry for to be better. And I think somewhere you kind of lose that a little bit, which is for me personally speaking. I don't know. Maybe it is like you said, the challenges that come up with the game, the politics of it, and I never really had a position. I couldn't tell you what it was up until obviously I got the one shirt at Newcastle and stuff like that. And again, in rep sides, I was told by one of the rep coaches that I probably wouldn't. When I was at under 16s, going back to what we was talking about, no, we're on a tangent. That I probably wouldn't play many rep. I probably wouldn't make any rep games or international games because I didn't have a position. Just how naturally the game evolved to, I was probably loose forward, probably position because it was like a bit of ball playing back then, and it was more of a utility half, wasn't it, a third half back. But then we went through that era of it was crash, knock your door down, wasn't it? 13, so I was kind of in that mix, that transition time with that. So that was one of the challenges like I come across facing, was that I was a utility player. So when you're picking a rep squad, you don't pick the you pick the utility for your squad if someone's not thinking, but you pick your number one fullback, you pick your number one six, you pick your number one seven, you pick the lads that have 13 implemented into the Instagram name or 7 on the end of theirs, and stuff like that. I was 19. I was number 19, and I think that kind of stuck with me for a long part of my career. But for somebody who loved it, being part of a team and being a team first kind of person, it's probably why I'm sat here, retired now, or 27, because I didn't put myself first as much as I probably should have done, could have done. But I was awarded a lot of great opportunities. I played for him in France, then played England. Schoolboys got a late call up to go over there. I think it was like a week or two before they actually flew out because there was an injury to one of the players in the position, and they went utility. And then I think Matty Pete was a big push on that. That pick Muller. Again, thinking utility, and also getting another Wigan lad's name on the rep side because they dominate for quite a while, don't they? And the proof's in the pudding with the system.
Do you know what now? Which is nuts, isn't it? Because fingers crossed you get back in the game to the level you want to get at. As long as you're happy, mate, that's what matters, doesn't it? The money's, I know money helps, but it's not the be all and end all. But you know what you've just said, the versatility. Right now, it's fashionable. You're probably a number 14.
I know, which now it's like what then was a burden would now be my greatest strength, and I do go
exactly.
road to Super League 2029.
Well, but joking aside, mate, you just don't know, do you? Like if
No.
you find that spark again and you start enjoying yourself, it'll show in your rugby, won't it? And then yeah, versatility is great, but it is like the fashion now. It's like you said, the 13 roles changed, come back, changed, come back. The fullback role's done the same.
I think if you look how the game's evolved into, you can't thank your players like your Sam Tompkins, who's again adaptable and versatile, your Stefan Ratchford. But I think then we went through that era we introduced Bevan French into the mix, and it was like you say, it was fashionable to be versatile. I think if you've got a team full of players that can play, and that I like I said, I would fill my field out with versatile players that play the game and know the game, and they've got that adaptability. Because as soon as we seen through that phase of, like I said, 2010 Wigan to, it's maybe not 2010, it's maybe a bit early, but like to 2012, 13, 14, when everybody adopted Wigan style of play. Everybody defended Wigan style of play then, and then it wasn't Wigan style of play, and Wigan had to be the team to reinvent the wheel, and they probably did that around like the 2018 and campaign, and that's probably why you see them go through. It takes teams years, and this isn't me just being from Wigan blowing Wigan's on, because I think Saints, what they did for years was something similar. They had a lot of those players that could play ball. They were ballers, what you would call them for me. And they say piano players, piano pushers. We went through an era of big is better. And I mean, big is better if it can play rugby. But if it
Yeah, the
can't,
pass helps on it.
then you're stuck, because look at your Rob Burrows and your Danny Maguires and that era of Leeds. There was everybody's bogey team, because there was a team, and there was a team full of players. Look at Sinfield; it's probably the last, other than Sean O'Loughlin, that utility 13. And I think when that happened again, I think that's when the game got fun again, and it was exciting to watch, and very similar to the 14 of NRL, what you would talk about. But what do I know?
No, no, I don't think you're wrong because I'm a, I'll watch any game of rugby, mate. Either call, to be fair, I get stick for it, but I enjoy both calls. And like the rugby league player that changed the position for me, I like someone that call it the bomb disposal. So Wellings was hardcore under the ball, weren't he?
Yeah,
Like Redlinski hardcore under the ball. But Brent Webb come and changed the fullback role, didn't he?
mixed it up, didn't it? It was another attacking threat, and I always think
That's
that
it. And it'd never
whether it was
been
him,
used like that before, Craig, had he?
no, I know, and I think then you get somebody like Sam Tompkins, who's a breath of fresh air for the fans, and there's a reason they become your poster boys. But I think we've missed a lot of opportunity. I think potentially we have a game full of poster boys in rugby league, but I think people are struggling to brand it, and I don't know how, or I don't know why. Maybe it's because I don't know, it's not ex players in there. I think maybe when we see Sam officially retire and players like that, or I think utilising the characters that we've got. Like I said, we're a working class sport. These lads would be the funniest lads on site if you were bricklaying, and they have that. I don't know. It's just that naturally, it's like a charisma into it about them, and I don't think we utilise it a lot.
Relatable as well, Craig. We've said it before. People
Yeah,
can want to be them because they're from down the street.
it is. It is that they're your next door neighbours again. So
Yeah.
if all around working for when I first finished for a while, I'm not giving him a plug because he doesn't deserve it. But no, he's a family friend, and he said he was up around, and he remembers very fondly delivering milk to Matty Smith, and all the time. And then just he's not he's football fanatic, and he's going, oh, you chose the wrong sport. You should have been you should have been hard at your with your Everton. You should have stuck with Everton, that sort of stuff. And I'm like, it's crazy, isn't it? Because he's that accessible. He's took the time to. I'll have a little bit look into his background. I can relate to him there. Everton football, and I think that's what you get. That's what you get with the game that we've got, and I think that's what we miss. So I think, like I say, when you get people like Eddie Earney who can sell the game out like darts every other Thursday night in December when everybody's extra festive and everybody wants to be indoors anyway. But I think when you've got to sell a game like rugby league, the game sells itself. So let don't confuse it with too much politics stuff for me. But
No. And that's what happened with him and Matchroom there, didn't it? Like that's a diff again. I can talk to you all night about rugby, but I think that's definitely like nose off to spite your face, isn't it? With Eddie
yeah,
Earn and Matchroom and that, because like you said, look what they've done with darts, mate.
probably not wanting the challenge again. Who's good? It's not as glamorous, is it, when you go in Ponte Carlo, you go heading over to Castle or Wake, something like that, is it? Or you've got to
It's
go over
Vegas,
bridge.
mate.
You've got to go over to Finger. You've got to go over at Bridge and visit Widnes, and it's just grey everywhere. And so it's not as glamorous, is it, as Ali Pali and stuff
No,
like that. But
it's
I
like you
think
said,
it will
probably
sell
outside the
itself.
like. Sorry, mate. Outside the two Sams, sadly, probably walk down the street and no one would be like Burgess and Tompkins to get picked up. But I think like
Yeah.
I know they're doing well at the minute, and I think the boss to watch anyway. But I think like Mikey Lewis at OKR, prime example. There'll be another 10 Mikey Lewises we can promote, like the
I know.
Saints lads, the Wigan lads, Warrington lads, OKR lads. You know what I mean? There's plenty of lads, but I just think like he's hot topic now. Just stick him front and centre, build around him.
He's passionate in it. Again, he's a young lad.
Yeah.
He's exactly what he does what it says on tin, doesn't he? Loves the game. I won't say that he doesn't speak great, but he could speak a lot better when you watch, said the media training of the rugby union lads and football lads and stuff like that. But yeah, use what we've got. I don't think we utilise what we have, and that would be a lesson that I'd say I definitely learned from the game. In that, there's a lot of time. You've got like time on your hands, like you've got like X amount of hours when you're not sitting in a coffee shop or you're not training. Utilize that time, either invest it in yourself or something for future you and stuff like that. Which I probably didn't do as much, but again, I'm exactly where I'm meant to be and stuff like that. So that would be the
Happens for a
information I
reason, bro.
passed on to everyone else. Yeah, and so like my little cousin who's playing now at Wigan Academy. Use it for what it is. Enjoy it. That you're not 19s forever. So
Yeah, I'm not
enjoy
a
it.
cheating, like, yeah,
So
yeah.
enjoy it, lad.
Yeah,
There will be some of the best days. You won't forget them. Sometimes we got to get a put a curfew on you. You sneak out past it, which I'm not saying we always did, but that sort of stuff there. And then that's when you will it dig deeper when you're on pitch and you're in an academy grand final, or you're playing reserves together, or you're trying to push for that first team, and you're the bin juice playing against the first teamers, and you're iron sharpens iron. And I remember getting a big massive rap as a side, as a reserves, as a squad, like a big umbrella term that we made that 28 Wigan team with the lads that we had because we was training so well. People probably won't believe it and stuff like that. We'd be beating them in training, and I know it's condition based and stuff like that, but to a point where they'd get frustrated at us, they'd start tackling a little bit harder and kick pressuring a little bit later and
yeah,
lying on a little bit longer because they was getting frustrated. But it paid dividends, and that was just how it was. And that well, coming back to that's what Wigan was like.
yeah. So when the scholarship come round, mate, did you have offers? And if you did, was it
Wigan,
always going to be Wigan anyway?
no, Wigan, Saints, and Warrington. I was very, very close to Warrington. I enjoyed what I'd seen at them all. But Wigan was a bit like, I think Wigan was one of those, like they thought that they had me in the back burner, which they did ultimately because I signed at Wigan. But I went to Warrington and fell in love with the place, and I was like, Wigan hadn't fully reached out. I put an actual offer there. They'd followed me all the way through from like 13, 14, 15, all the way through the thing. Yeah. Do you know those years? Like always been thing close and stuff. Um, but yeah, they took the time with it. So I had a look around Saints, and what Saints was doing was good. But I don't think I was trying to look at where was my pathway then. Trying to think about what position I might have been. Then looked at Wigan. They took the time after it without an offer. So Saints had offered and Warrington had offered, and I was so close to Warrington. And I still think Warrington are doing that now. I think it just takes a couple of trophies before at that first grade level where they start maybe being the team who steals a player from when Wigan come offering an interesting. That Warrington could be that because they have got the part, they've got the full package there. They're just missing the few trophies there, aren't they? Because they've got the young lads now, and I think they're performing well. And like I said, they partner up really well with Widnes and get them a lot of game time and stuff there. And they're a good franchise, and it feels like they do good stuff on and off the field. But I wasn't kidding anyone when Wigan come and actually had an offer there for me. It was going to be Wigan after the academy years, after the scholarship years into academy. So it was only ever going to be Wigan once that paper got put in front of me. And yeah, I think for me and for my family, it was only down the road. Not that that was something that I considered, but I think that plays a big part in it, doesn't it? When you live and you breathe it, and it's you had the opportunity to Wigan, you didn't Wigan, because I think it was always well, you can Wigan and then go somewhere. Because there's quite that mentality at the time. It was quite the thick ethos that Pats were the place to be, because it was Pats, then Wigan, and then once you was at Wigan, there was always another place for you. It was someone would always find you because you're good crop, you're good produce when you come from Wigan, and I think that speaks volumes for any kid that comes from the system. But for some people, it works out better being the big fish in a smaller pond, which you see players then get picked up from those clubs, and we can go, oh, maybe we missed it, and we missed that shot at them, and then they've nourished into the play that they are and stuff like that. But that probably
No,
comes
mate,
back to
that doesn't often happen, that does it? Sorry to interrupt you, that doesn't often
yeah,
happen.
you've got to be a very, very special rare player, aren't you, for get picked
Yeah.
from a smaller pond, jump into, let's say, Wigan, Warrington Saints' pond and stuff like that. I think we've seen it more from Championship clubs more than anywhere, and I think for a lot of players now, I think there's the young lads over that might have took a step away from Wigan and full-time professional clubs to like to look at your Oldhams and places like that. It's done really well for them,
Yeah.
and I think because
Right.
that you're playing against grown blokes, and you one week you'll be playing against a, a well fit pub side to playing to lose, you'll come and they'll carve you up, and you'll be playing on a mint fresh pitch, or then you'll go to Batley and face them up that hill, and it'll be proper grown blokes, bearded up, bald heads and tattoos, no space left on skin and stuff. So there's no better way to learn your trade, I don't think, as a kid for playing against grown men. Which again, I was awarded a lot of time in the champ with stuff like that,
Yeah.
which was it was a rum era.
Yeah. So is dual red something you like? Do you like the idea of make something rugby league have got right?
I think personally, I think if we take a step back and go back to to the question, I think it comes back to our system. I think if we had such a stronger game. I think if we emulated what they have in Oz, in that they have the club rugby, so like I said, their clubs a feeder club too. So like I said, the Rabbitohs have like I said, I don't know what it is over there, the Hers or the South Sydney Hers, make that a stronger product there. And then when we get, how many times do we see a player at like, say, look at Liam Marshall, for instance, who's a great story. He was in, then he was out, he was in, and he was out, and then he's back in, and what, arguably one of the best wingers in the last 5 years in Super League and stuff, with a great record. I mean, so I think if we nurtured the game and our younger people more, and we sorted a system out, and it was maybe make 16s the first time that you play for a side and strengthen amateur rugby and see how those players like nurture and develop them and have development squads and stuff like that. And then look at introducing it around. Have an 18 side or have an A side and a B side and go that way. For me, is how I'd do it, because I think you're only strengthening if you're constantly fishing in the same pond, you're going to run out of resource, aren't you? Whereas
Right. Yeah.
I think that's what we've done. We've got to a point of that where the amateur game's so weak that people are drawn to football, or people are what are they now, gamers or whatever it is and stuff like that. Our pool's never going to be as big where Wigan can't handpick and Leeds can't handpick and Leeds over the Yorkshire ways, and Saints can't pick who they want out of thingy and then leave it to, like say, your mid table club stereotypically, to get the rest. Because I think we'd have far more people playing the game at an open age level, and how many clubs could field an 18s team now? If you went to every team Wigan, if you asked them how many was fielding an 18s, I think it'd be very slim, and that's picking from Wigan. Like we went to Oz when we did the Aussie Schoolboys, and I think across our 13s to 18s was the start. This was back when we went in 2018 or whatever. They had more in the one age group at under 13s than we had as a pool to pick from than we did our whole competition from 18s to 13s in the Northwest Counties or across our game, and that's pretty shocking, isn't it? When you're thinking, and I know Wigan are the world champions and stuff like that, and it's a game that's only played. It's like them Americans when they're world champions, and there's only them that play NFL. How can you have a world champions if you're only playing it in what, France, England, Australia, New Zealand, and then I know they're introducing the other clubs and stuff now, part of the NRL franchising, but and then what happened with Toronto and stuff like that, which was a travesty for the game, if you ask me. But
Yeah. No, it was, mate. And you know what? You mentioned a couple of clubs before, and like Moorfield and the Maddies don't exist.
serious.
Yeah. So the Maddies are trying to get like I don't know if it's the people. I'm sure will let me know if I'm wrong if I see him and that, but it's like like the men's Medic League. So it's not
Oh,
a
really?
league, but it's like a pool of fixtures in it where if a team's without
Yeah.
a game, they keep. So that's where the Maddies are, mate. So how big a clubs were they? And they
Wow. And they
basically
were
don't
clubs that
exist now.
we were facing them in finals and semis
Yeah.
religiously every other whatever. Yeah, that
So we
it's
only have like
shame
out
in
and Hornets
some.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think we're missing quite a bit. Again, it probably comes back to it's a knock on of it all, isn't it? I think if we there's loads of development day resources and stuff for coaches to go and jump on at, like I said, clubs and foundations and community clubs and stuff like that. But it's probably not that you need, is it? It's a revamp of the system. Sometimes it takes reinventing the wheel, and I feel like Warrington and Wigan and anybody, do you know, like who are biting like Hull FC and Hull KA at the moment, and York, who've just been over in Amsterdam. I think the kind of clubs are taking it upon themselves now to do that rebranding and that franchising of themselves. But how long can Wigan be world champions or be the best team in rugby league history if we don't constantly have the sport for so long? So somewhere you've got to stop kicking the can down the road and pick it up.
You know. So back to you, mate, and back to going through the academy and playing in grand finals and that. Does that does that level really set you up for first team level?
Yeah, it's specifically at Wigan. Because again, I think if you look into the psychology of stuff and like to the mind and the mentoring things, I watched a video today about Matty Pete and his mentor, the fella that he's like shadowed and like emulated for a while and stuff like that. It was, I think, having those kind of people that they do have the cream of the crop at Wigan, and like I say, Matty was always doing stuff like that back then. Do you know, like a touch of class before playing an academy grand final against Saints, where we was a weakened side, and we should have got 40 put on us, and we ended up taking it to like 92 minutes of rugby league or something like that. We ended up going to a golden point against like say a Danny Richardson, a Regan Grace, a Morgan Knowles team, and we were really depleted through injury and through not having the best performance side that year in general. And like I said, Matty having just like the forward thinking of him, I think is like letters written from our families and close family members left on our peg, and the jersey, everything was, yeah, it's up to scratch always. I don't think what you get it when you what you're getting at a club like Wigan, and I'd imagine they do similar at Warrington and Saints and Leeds. What you're getting for a first team grand final isn't too far from what you're getting at an academy grand final. It's got a really special feel around it, and even if that is the highest that you go, they really allow you that opportunity, I think, to feel like this is your grand final, this is your world champion moment. And
What's
by
that though?
making it
Because that's still
personal,
a great level, Craig, isn't it?
I know, yeah, it was. I remember it now. I flicked through, like I said, I've been through all that stuff, looking for results and stuff, and read through letter from mum, dad, sister, which was Academy Grand Final. We didn't go on to win it, but it felt like we did. Personally played really well. The team played phenomenally. We ended up losing on the blow of a whistle. An accidental offside, I think we got done on, which is something you're kicking yourself for. I think Danny Richardson kicked the goal in something like 93rd, maybe touching 100 minutes. And they're the moments you remember because you remember opening that letter, getting quite emotional, making it personal, and then going, this is a special day. Going back to Revs or wherever it was at the time with all your family and your friends around you, and like I'm encapsulating that really special moment for you. So anything you got from training to kit was just probably just a tiny bit diluted than what you would get at that first grade level when at clubs like that, which I'm very grateful for. And around that time, it probably put me in good stead for playing well in those games against sides like that Saints side too. Go and play a reserve fixture, which we did quite a bit whilst the league wasn't fully up and running. They did want us to perform well in fixtures because in those reserve fixtures because it's Wigan. And that was
Yeah.
like for the mentality, and that was consistent of him. There's a real rich winning mentality from him. So yeah,
Everyone's cut final, mate, aren't you? Basically.
yeah, yeah. There was that definitely that feel. Oh, we're gonna come in,
Yeah.
or we're going to Wigan. If it was up at Edgell Road and we had all, I was very proud of the time I spent. I actually held a blog and did something similar to this with the not a podcast, just like a personal. Like I'd interview a player and then we'd go through their stuff with them and we'd do a weekly roundup with them when I was part of the Riversiders, which is Wigan's fan club, and again, I think it comes from them and being in the kind of town that Wigan is, and like say, Widnes is very much like it. Saints are like it. Warrington, close to that area, I really, really like it. Leeds combating it with football and stuff like that, so I'd imagine it's a little bit difficult, but that there is that special feel of it, and that those fans, they were your fans as well as thinking, because they knew that you were their next, whoever it be. So that's your Marshes with your Fires and so on. So they're your next step. So they did buy into us, and made you feel so special and supported. So they'd always chuck something really like a real classy touch on it for you. Either be it it'd be a team breakfast. They'd fund it for us, or we'd go into a team building the last week before we'd play a semi against Catalan to go on to play Cass in the final. And we ended up playing the next academy grand final, which we was fortunate enough to win at the DW. So again, those opportunities, that even if that is your last opportunity and taste of professional rugby at the early stages in academy rugby, you've been granted those opportunities.
No, it's boss that, isn't it, mate? I imagine. So, like, we'll go on to transition into first team, mate, and all you've ever wanted to be up until this point is a Wigan Warrior, and then your jersey's hung up, Mullen on the back, shorts, your programme. How is that, mate? Because you're very appreciative, even from a young age. It comes across like you really understand the moment, but you're confident enough to go and express yourself. So, how was that when you got to your locker, mate, and you see all that out? And
It gets you. It does. It's a very proud, again, being a Wigan. My dad and that is obviously not. On my signing day, he'd be tongue tied, and we'll laugh about this. My mum laughs her head off as he's signing in front of, like, say, I think he was with John Winder and Matty Pete, and he couldn't get me, and so on. So I think you really pull all that in, and you just enjoy it for what it is. I feel I'm more grateful and mindful of stuff right now and look back with such a um, like a positive outlook on it. That I've been so lucky in so many opportunities, but got go in and see that, and like I said, my first taste of it would have been at when we used to run the London the Capital Challenge, and that was my first taste of it, where they give it a full first crack, and you're on the buzz down, and you get on it early, and you're not on just the normal coach where you're all sharing one bog and stuff like that. It's tabled up and your recliner, and it's blue light the way down while you're driving. It's early and that type of stuff. So it's the business. That's probably like the first taste of it. Then into playing playing a part of against Leigh, who would go on to move to in Mickey. I think it was Mickey Imes' testimonial game. That first real taste of it, and there was that real feel of, whilst there's a lot of people in the dressing room more than normal, when you've walked in as a fan and you've done fan days, or you're signing as a young lad and you see them all, and the 17 blokes, 18, 19, and they're all in the zone, it's a little bit different when you've got that many people in it. But my first opportunity comes of it when in Australia, playing against the Rabbitohs. So when you see it there, and my dad's a rugby nerd, and he's got a Rabbitohs vest, and he loves Sam Burgess, and he loves all the Burgess brothers, that you're neither, and you're going to line up against two of them, with first carry
yeah,
straight in between them. So you think of all that, I think, and you go, sometimes take it for granted for what it is. You're just a boy playing a game, getting paid for it with your mates. So
yeah.
it
It's
comes
on
with
to
those
me to
moments.
bring that out of you, mate. It should be something that you don't think too much of. Because
Yeah,
again, you've sacrificed everything. You've
yeah,
earned the right to be there, and then you've managed to capitalise on the right to be there. And then you find yourself playing in arenas that only people can dream of.
I know, it's stunning. And then it's back to reality, and you're back over in Cold Warrington on a Thursday night. So I was 50-50 whether I was going to play. I think it might have been Serge picked an injury up whilst we was away there, and torn between whether I was going to line up against Kristen and you. And I was like, that's when it's real, when you're up against when you're still a 18, 19-year-old lad, and you're going, I'm going to have to defend him, or he's going to have to defend me. Well, years later down the line, he hits me with everything but kitchen sink when we played against Salford. And I was like, oh, imagine if he'd have done that. And that was when I was a little bit heavier, a little bit thicker. Imagine if he'd have got me at 18. There'd have been no more rugby story. So they did. They looked after you well as well, I think. Like when they think body wise and opportunities like that, they do. I think they know it enough to, when the opportunity's right and you're surrounded by the right people, like the right, they're not, just lambs to slaughter. I think if they can, there's times where they'd have had to done it. When you look at when the whole side fell ill against Wakey and stuff like that, and they had to put quite a young side out, and they took a tonking, and it's not a reflection of, like I said, what they do consistently, and that's why it makes such big news and stuff like that. So getting the opportunity to take the field alongside, like I say, those players that have been doing it, and I've watched at Old Trafford and I've watched at Wembley and stuff like that, is, again, you think about that and you go, it's a bit surreal. You're like,
Yeah,
so
it's boss, mate, isn't it? So when then more moves come about, mate, I ask everyone this, fella, but how do you perceive the offer of a loan? Is it an opportunity to play, or is it a kick in the face?
I think I see both sides of the coin with this, because at a time when you're being told that you're doing everything right within training, which I was at times, and again, I was probably the other side of that utility at the time, that I wasn't getting in, and that maybe it was a matter of the politics and playing someone because they was on X amount of money or whatever, when I knew performing and training better was, you can get a bit of a ratty on, and you can be a bit like, when you know what you can give and you know what you've got in your arm, and you're not being allowed to, and that you think it's a bit of a step back, it's not necessarily. But I think that comes from not having a great experience on one loan at one time, to being part of a team that was struggling and was quite toxic, and there was that throat, and they weren't disciplined, and they weren't that, to reappointing a new coach, which was then Stu Littler, at Swinton, and having the best experience that I could possibly have had, that I ended up falling back in love with the game. And that's, again, thanks to your likes of Stu Littler and your Alan Coleman, who I know you've had on. That, and I think that's evident in how his teams play, and how Widnes have performed over the last year. And they've probably been quiet for a few years, Widnes, haven't they? Not performed how they'd like, and then people like, and it's no surprise to me that people like Stu and people like Alan can do that. I think we went 11 games at the start of the year with Swinton, without the win. And then at the back end, it ended up being one of those where they'd introduced the wish version of the £1 million game, and we had to play like 2 weeks after the season, and it was like
The
Whitehaven,
which version like that?
Whitehaven versus Swinton, and
Yeah,
through my mind's like, for them, and then all the lads had already been and celebrating their man Monday, and me, Josh Wood, Sam Kabula, Liam Paisley are all playing on loan while the lads are celebrating a grand final win. Then it's a bit of a kick in the nads when you've worked hard and you've been part of that squad, all year, and you've stepped in at 9 when you was only meant to play 20 minutes for Sam Powell to give him a rest before they went into the playoffs, but you end up playing 77 in middle against Hull FC when they're at biggest packet league that year. But for then go and play there, it can be quite damning, and you do lose a bit of hope and a bit of faith in that what you do. Because I was a player who was naturally fit and did try his hardest and did perform really well. So that is the other side to the versatility and stuff like that, and especially when it comes to a time when it's convenient for the club and not yourself, which I can say this now because I'm not tied or affiliated with a club and there's no politics to it for me, that, yeah, that does frustrate you and that does hurt you, because at the end of the day, yeah, you're a club and you're a business looking after that, but we're a player who puts the body on the line week in, week out, session after session, being somewhat a tackling pad at some points when you're not playing, and doing that for the club, and then that being how you get repaired. Yeah, it is. It was quite. It hurt. But then that's that hurt that motivates you again to go again, because that's what we do to ourselves, isn't it? We we buck up, don't we, and go, well, I'm gonna have to go harder here, or it goes the other way, and then this is your reality, and you're doing it weekly, which isn't too
do
bad,
you,
because again, like I said, I've got such fond memories in the championship.
and do you go places where they expect you to pull a rabbit out of a hat all the time, or do they allow you to just play rugby and play what you see?
I, I, I was fortunate in that I had Stewie Littler and, like I say, Al Coleman and stuff like that, and those kind of coaches, they was playing a positive style of rugby for me, which is quite expressive. But yeah, and then you go in and you do your review and you think, oh, Belton have had a real good game here. Not somebody who's concerned with stats. That never really bothered me because I've had really bang average games and had good stats, and I've had phenomenal games, and my stats don't quite reflect it. So I don't think that's a good reflection of a player or the performance. But for sit back and watch your videos and something that you think you've done really, really well, part of a bigger cycle, they've clipped it and showed you the tiniest part of your game, which is probably why the sports. That's why players are at where they're at, because they look at it in that minuscule way. But you then like, well, I'm here playing for somebody, for you, not for me. When your mind's really, I wish this weren't the blue and white of Swinton and it was the cherry and white of Wigan. And you do have that in your mind, and you go in. Small parties going. Well, they've told me if somebody gets injured next week, so you're going. Don't put your head into that space, or don't. It does cross your mind, and you are a bit like, oh well, championship life's very, very different to a full-time professional. Like I say, you don't know what you're getting or not. So one fella could have come straight off tours and had the worst week with his missus, his family, his job, and really just want to take somebody's head off, which we had a couple of them in our team, and I think he might have one of the worst records ever. Um, but yeah, we were really poor discipline side at the start here with Swinton, but take those 13 games at the back end, and it's such a positive experience. And I'm telling you about how it is what you need, and how, like, say, strengthening. It's exactly what you need for that player to nourish and to play against grown men, and in a time when reserves wasn't as consistent as it might be now, and they might not have a fully functioning league and so on. So it serves its purpose. I think it's that fine balance between what's the intention of you going on loan? Is it is it when the players put first and it's to better them, get them game time and get them prepared for that first team regular, or is it because it's part of a business deal in it somewhere or something like that? Which, again, I'm not affiliated to anywhere at the moment, so
Yeah.
you can say
Like
it.
a bit of a sacrificial lamb.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which was one of my experiences for it, because later found out that opportunities to go on loan to Super League clubs were denied because they were competition at the time. Whether
Oh, I
true or
see.
not,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
when you read it, when you read it and you go, but then you're asked, yeah. So it's one of those things where you're like, who was this for? Was this for me? Was this for you? Have you decorated the tree a little? But it's business, and I think when you're just a young lad that wants to play the game, you lose faith in that a little bit.
You do, mate. So I imagine when going on loan to Leigh, which you later made permanent, that's probably as good as a loan you could probably ask for, isn't it, in the champ, mate?
Yeah, yeah. I I can't again. I might just see him as one of those people. Is there anything that he doesn't like or appreciate? But Leigh, I can't fault him. I honestly can't fault him. And you see stories and you hear things, but for me, they've not done much wrong in the process of the big changeover and the revamp that they've done at the minute. It's a small town with a big art, and they showed me that art when I was there. The North Standards were unreal. I was sponsored by the fan club when I was there, and I've got some cracking photos. Something that you probably go, is a crackpot him. With the fans where you're out, because again, we're accessible. We're out in Bond Street or wherever we are. We've gone pub up road now, Spinners, and we're having a drink with them, and we're celebrating our first win out of 26 games and whatever. But they're the moments that you remember. And when you're walking around Morrison's in Leigh, or you're going fruit markets, not that you'd ever need fruit markets in Leigh, but someone will stop you and you'll have a chat like that. That's what it's about, and that's what it's for them, because that's their whole week. Whilst it's your whole week, that's
Yeah.
the highlight of their week. Um,
Yeah.
and again, being made accessible. It gave me a time. It gave me an opportunity to go and probably have a taste of something that wasn't Wigan that I'd always had. Um,
Yeah.
like a breath of fresh air. It was a breath of fresh air,
The
but
reset.
not reset in a
Yeah.
similar system. In that a lot of the stuff that Leigh did and train like was emulating what Wigan did, and there's a lot of familiar faces there for me. Like Josh Woods will think he can't get away from me at this point. Followed him to Leigh, then followed him to Newcastle. So again, and then like said Duffson that who's back at Wigan now. Um, so it was very it was almost like I was on a baby trainer at Leigh. Like they could still keep an eye on me there at Wigan whilst I was on my loan. And then COVID come and I wasn't staying with Wigan, and the opportunity. I was one of those players who no one would ever be able to check it because I don't think there's anyone at Toronto anymore. But I had agreed a deal with Toronto, so that was
Oh,
like
okay.
buzzing. Young
Yeah.
lad who's always wanted to travel and see the world. He's going to go and play in Toronto. I've heard all the stories. You live the dream, and the dream come crashing down before it even started. Which Derek, my agent at the time, had reached out to Derek, and yeah, the Lavers, which again I was buzzing about because I enjoyed my time there. We'd been on Zoom and we'd done a full year on Zoom together, training together, never knowing whether we was going to get another shot at that. I think we was 5-0, and I think I'd played three and maybe one Challenge Cup game, so 6-0, whatever it was. So all that when you get buzzing for something, your fresh starts coming again, you get revamp yourself and re-go, and then something as wild as that, the whole world stopped as you was about to get started. So yeah, it was a bit of a mad one for everyone. Um, so I've probably got some tax back, get claimed some tax back on those years. I've probably got another contract in me if I if I claim it back now. I might
So
try
would
that
you
one. I
think?
might drop Derek a text.
Don't blame you, mate. Yeah. Do you think all that contributed to you maybe stepping away from that level then?
Yeah. Again, I know Newcastle were full time, you see, and I knew they
Yeah.
were doing a lot of stuff. And then there was the talk of with every 9 to 12 months you hear of a revamp, don't you, with rugby league, where it's like this is going to happen. So at the moment it's York and stuff like that, which is phenomenal, and I think it's mega what they've got going up there. And I've got some pals who play up there, and I
Tim's
think
doing
York
well
might be
with
the next.
York, mate.
I think
Yeah.
York's the one might need to keep an eye on for. Again, I think if you give people, Toulouse should always have been in it for me. Toronto should always been in it because I think if you're thinking about it, a working class game, who they say it's just played down M6 or whatever they say about it, you've got Toulouse away, you've got Catalans away, you've got a weekend away in York. I think if you franchise those, you make it. We've got some pretty cool places for look at, and then like say Saints, Wigan, Widnes, they do the talking on their own. Leeds is a city itself again, so that's pretty cool. Or go and have your weekend in Leeds there or whatever and stuff like that. I think when you make it like that and you do what Leigh are doing, where it's a spectacle going to the game, so nobody's
Yeah.
going to
You've
go.
set a
Going to go.
tournament nearly.
Going to go and do a
Yeah.
night in Leigh. You're not going to stop over when you play late. But when you know there's a gig on now before it, you think, oh, I'm getting there before. I want to see what he's got going on now. The madman decorated in leopard print, and see what he's got going on, that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think that's the go with it.
Yeah. No, mate, listen, like that rebrand's worth the treat because whether you like it or not, everyone's on about it. And then
Everyone
there's
knows
some
it,
of the
doesn't it?
people he's got on board with it as well, like Reebok, big brand, Jet 2.
I
And
know
he,
it's
like you
phenomenal.
said, he's got all them gigs on before it and that's packed all the time. And some of the signings they've made.
It's phenomenal. You can't fault him. You could never fault his passion. And I think when that's your driving factor for a lot of things, and that's the reason why we get into a lot of stuff. And at the end of the day, he's a fan, isn't he? He loves it. And what's wrong with that? Because he's not he is business. Because look at what he's doing and look at what he's turning over. So you can't say
You know
it's
what, mate? He
because
bigs
he's not
champ
that way.
clubs up and League One clubs as well. He does. He's not just focused on Super League. Like he'll
I
talk
know.
Alan and Witness up. He reaches out to Rochdale and Andy Maisie at Rochdale. He like constantly offers to like sponsor Rochdale and that if they've not got one and stuff. He is a big advocate for rugby, mate, isn't he? Rugby league.
I think he's great. I think having a passionate leader, there's way worse leaders for having a crazy passionate fan like himself, and it never did me any wrong while I was there. So I can't speak on somebody like that. And it was always great. It was always great. I mean, even when times weren't necessarily great when I was there at Leigh, and we've probably got one of the worst Super League records as there is. But when I pulled him for the chat saying I want to explore the options of Newcastle because Toronto had fell through, sorry. Um, he were great. Again, there's probably the option to stay there. But that was something 2 years ago and living in a city away, not a new taste of life for me. It was great. It was a pat on the back, and seeing him at the game and stuff like that, it's like it's good. I can't fault it. I think his heart's in the right place. I won't say his head always the right time because he's so passionate, and we can't because that's how we are when we play the game. It's intense, and it's like when they say if you've got nerves, it's because you're passionate about it, innit? So I think. I think the challenge couple that they got was exactly what they deserved, and I dropped him a text on the day, and I went, "I love this chat around. Was it this serendipity and stuff like that?" I thought, "Wow!" I thought, "Now we're talking. This is what we
That
need.
is
This feels like
amazing.
big. This is a
Yeah,
story, isn't it?"
yeah. And then I heard some of the stuff you were getting told when you went to Newcastle. I've had mates that have played there and that, mate. So it was things like when we make a grand final, whether you've been on the journey or not, you'll get tickets to it, and you'll forever be here, and we're going to be full time. We're doing this. We're doing like fella. He probably had every intention of seeing that through,
Yeah,
but
rubbed that post
sold
under
more
us.
to
I
you as a
think.
dream, didn't he? Yeah. So how
Yeah,
was it when you got there and they the sort of things you were told, Craig?
yeah. We had that vision of that, don't we? Again, probably still young, still hungry. What would it have been? Probably 22, 23 at the time. Yeah, would have been. Um, you you buy into it because again these businessmen they can do that, they can sell that side of it to you, and but then when you meet people like Dennis and you meet Eamon O'Carroll who was at the time, and they bring people like that, and then you go, no, they must be legit, that it's got to be legit what they're saying, they've got a true intention there. But when it got tough down the line, was that intention still the same as when they started? Were they willing to back it when you had to take that step back to go forward and so on? And I think they tried to rush it forward. They tried to like fast track it maybe, and then for whatever reasons happened with the director of whatever it just weren't there. The same support weren't there as when we'd had a signing on evening, which felt the part again. It felt like something when he was going to a Wigan Warriors Riversiders meeting, going signing on there as an academy lad into first team in front of the fans. It had that kind of feel. They had fans there. It was professional. They had set up real cool video. Went stopped down one night while we was at house viewing with the roomies, Woodsy and Mitch Clark. So you did. You really bought into the dream, and I think. I know we're partially part of that, but and the burden falls on us when we're not performing or people get injured. But that's sport. But I still don't think we had the same form of the same backing as that image or whatever it was at the time.
Do you think that's non-rugby people not understanding rugby, or even
Yeah,
non-sport people maybe not understanding sport? Because it's not just down to rugby. That can be any sport, can't it? Where injuries happen, loss of form, suspensions, life outside the sport might not be great for some people. Might not be able to settle.
but
It's a big mixture of everything that we don't, as fans, probably quite understand sometimes.
no, I think that's what I mean. I don't think they get you don't get that side of it as fans, and you do just see the results slowly going L draw win, and you don't see that consistent. And you think, well, I'm spending my money to come watch yous of a weekend, but then again, I think you forget there's the whole life of it, and that was one of the most intense times. The uncertainty of whether you was going to get you pay and stuff like that, and then chuck into the mix like ridiculous circumstances, that personal ones to very close friends of myself and teammates and roommates and people I consider brothers, and then for them to still be so business minded at that time when one of my by far my favourite game to be a part of was playing in the Pride Week against Bradford. After the loss of Ben Woods, taken to the field with Woodsy and all the lads, I, I I can't explain the feeling of that that time, and for all that business stuff to still be even a part of it, that should be a time where that's all scrap for me. I don't get
Yeah.
business. That's not me. That's not my area of expertise. So it's very easy for me to say, as I don't know, as as a person, and who sees you like this, and I see you as, I don't know, as a brother, and see you as a friend, I see you as a son, and that sort of stuff. I think it's difficult for people to expect that just go professional play. You should be winning. You should be winning. Why I'm paying my money, which I get it, and there's the frustration of it. But again, where's the line with it? When you're sacrificing so much, or you feel like you're sacrificing so much, and I think that comes from people wanting what you've got, and then you taking it for granted. Again, it's that cycle, it's that balance of it, and probably at a time when you're not being backed, and you're not seeing that you're being backed, and you're not, because it's absolutely a sport where you've got to be very mindful of your tongue and what you say. Especially when interviewing and things like that, that you can't be as open and honest and as clear as you want to be with people, and a lot of that, it's again, like I said, now later down the line you can start communicating. You've not got the burden and that responsibility and stuff, because hell, you say anything against a referee, you get a fine. If you say anything against the RFL, you get a fine. If you, I don't know, speak out against the club, you get there's consequences to it all. So I think fans miss a lot, but I think when they say fans can be fickle, I also think they can be very, very supportive. And again, there's no game without them. And I think whilst you get that downside of it, I think they realise. I don't think fans will back you whether you're in League One, Champ, Super League. The fans will back you. If Wigan went to League One now, they'd still have fans. Those fans that it meant something to, who see you now still as just as a pastoral support manager or a teacher or whatever role you're in. They still see you, and they still reach out and still talk to you as that person. Whereas those people are that fixated on the sport because it's probably what they wanted. That's when it's gets lost, sir.
Aldi. Yeah. So, mate, what's life been like for you since Newcastle? What have you been up to? And tell us a little bit about these workshops you've set up, and where can people find you and find these events that you put on?
Well, there's been a lot of living, a lot of learning. Got got into education again. I thought probably not even too reflective of it. Kind of like stumbled across it. We did a little bit with my mate, who I'm not giving a plug to, just helping him do a bit of renos and stuff like that, working on a house. And then the opportunity come where I thought, what do I want to do? I was always fixated on travelling, which I'm yet to do. I did a whole summer last year, just gone and did Thailand throughout the summer holidays. Finished in Vienna, seeing Coldplay, and yeah, so I kind of fell into education. Just I think education's the answer. I think music's everything. Love, love, love music. I think, but we're not all that inclined. I think music's the answer to a lot of stuff for us. I think education is where we start making these changes to, like I said, even within sport and within business. And I think we need to reinvent the wheel with a lot of stuff. I think what happens within the RFL is just a reflection of what happens within the government and so on. And this is the conspiracy theory side of me. Um, so that just by nature of, again, wanting to, I don't know, I really enjoyed my time as a sports coordinator and community coach at Academy Rugby. So just fell into a cover support role, and then thought, do you know what, I'll take a chance. Applied for a job at my old school. Didn't know the bit, didn't know that I knew the basics of it. Be relatable, be approachable, build a good rapport with kids and stuff like that, and then all the rest of it. So I interviewed really, really well and got the phone call. Was that, we're really sorry to say we've appointed somebody else for the position, but we want to. Then created a role for me because they really liked how I interviewed, and they said they was quite passionate about stuff, which I am. When it comes to education, I am, because they're our next generation. The kids. So even the smallest of wins, I'm the kind of person who won't leave it at the door, and does bring it on. And I am thinking about, oh, could I have done that better for them? Oh, I wonder what are they, or that sort of stuff. So it was always going to be education. So then left that role because frustration with coming from, I think a large frustration of it comes from coming from good pedigree, so from like being part of, like, say, good leadership groups, and always having strong, like, say, a big push on like communication and being part of a team, even whilst you're competing against each other, you're all aiming for the same goal, which is, I feel like there's a lot of competition amongst education, people trying to climb the corporate ladder of business and get up to those SLT and those what they call leadership roles. But there's very few until recently that I would say like emulate what it means to be a good leader for me, and that's where I've struggled staying in it. So I have moved from position to position and stayed, went from one school in a trust into another school in a trust and similar things. Like I've been part of really really good teams and been part of not so great teams, and just struggle with that. And I think at a time where I've done bits on myself and have been and explored who I am and been away on like say retreats and things like that, trying to help me understand that me a little bit more. That I wouldn't put up with that. I've put up with that before as a professional player, and I've not put myself first. So bringing me right to here right now, where it's I've just come back from a setback with what was something that I was really really passionate about, mental health and education. I was looking to be EMHP and working part of the CAMS team, and then life happens and somebody has missed a step along the interviewing processing part of the application and didn't realise that I had a degree. Didn't realise that I didn't have the degree required for the role. So universities read that, and I would have been working at a master's level when, in reality, I've still writing my name in crayon at this end. So no, it would probably have been that two worlds apart for what they was asking of me. So withdrew from that role, fell into another role, and then the whole LinkedIn reboot has kind of kicked it back off. I seen an advertisement for something. It kind of just found me on an advertisement and then found me again. And I was like, I've got to look into that. And I've just accepted the position of a progression coach. So it's kind of being the bridge, the gap between like education and business. So across Merseyside, looking to support students and put them into either education, apprenticeships, that sort of stuff, providing real life skills and employability skills, that sort of stuff, making a real impact. Something that I'm passionate about. Like, I want better for the next generation because I had that. I was gifted with many opportunities. I was part of like say, youth speaks competitions and schools for social entrepreneurs, and I had all that stuff in abundance. And then when I'm in schools now, I see it and I'm like, gifted and talented opportunities and pathways, and I think it's so limited now. And I think they need something needs we need that somewhere. Somebody needs to take the hit, and I don't know where or how, but I think this role could be it for me for now for quite a while. I like to think so because I can't do
Well, good
another.
luck, mate. It sounds like it's right down your street. Can see the passion coming out of you anyway. So that alone will get you so far, won't it? And then you'll just pick up the pieces as you go as well. Every day is a learning day, Craig, innit?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah,
So you've been carrying on trotting, haven't you, mate? With the egg, and you've been playing for Aspull, you mentioned.
yeah. I did a little bit over at Aspull, but that winter rugby weren't for me. It was PTSD. 7-year-old me with feet on dashboard.
Our radiators above pups.
Yeah, so no, that was it for me. And then looking at getting back into it with Leigh East. Um, Again, it's a club that have been ever present through my life, just through playing at and against them, and then like linked really closely, embedded into one of my best mates and brothers, Josh Wood's family. So there's a real good community culture, and they've just got each other's back. It's that kind of and you see him and you love it from afar because I'm in Wigan and get little tastes of it when I see him and stuff like that. It's what you want to be a part of, and that's what after other than looking for all the pictures, having this conversation that's kick-started that for me again, and think, do you know what? I'm going to go and just do it. Have a crack.
Oh, mate,
Have
I
a
know
laugh
there's a good lad there. Sorry to interrupt you. Ben Davis has gone back playing for Leigh East.
at the East. See, I think it'd be good because again, they've really got that each of us back type mentality through thick and thin.
No, it's a hotbed club in it, mate. Like you
Yeah.
might not remember because of the new ground, but they used to play behind Hilton Park.
Well, they tell me that all the time. It's rich in history, innit,
Yeah.
Lee?
Yeah,
According
so
to
like you used to go there as a kid, mate, before you were even thought of probably, and you'd be like, "Oh, we play in there," and then there's this clubhouse round the back. You're like, "Oh, we're playing there." Yeah, you like sell you the dream, play it reality, innit? But no,
Yeah,
leave it to boss.
that'd be like me going from, what was it? Allianz. Did we play at the Allianz? We played at the Allianz week after. I went back to back me Barra in January. Oh, it was in Barra in January.
Reality.
I went twice. I did. After thought I must have been good in a past laugh. I thought I must have killed a pope in a past laugh when I was in Barra.
Proper extreme.
Yeah,
Who
man.
else done it? We were playing Wigan. Don't know if we were town team or service area, and we were told we were playing at DW. We got there and they're like, "Oh, sorry, something's gone on. Is it at the soccer door? Remember the soccer door?
Oh, I think he's over there now. Yeah, they're that's
Rock out that. Yeah,
trampoline spot.
because
That
it's
now.
like Robin Park and that now, isn't it? The soccer door's not there,
Yeah.
is it?
Soccer dome's other side, but it's all Ninja Warrior in it and stuff like that now.
Oh,
I
is it?
remember crawling around that field at daft o'clock and at 6 o'clock in the morning because we'd done something ridiculous on a team do. So we was up bushhack, crawling around, freezing cold, pre-season. No, it might even have been mid-season. Yeah, it's
That's right,
wild.
that
Some of the
mate.
stuff you get up to, it's crazy,
Yeah.
crazy sport. Brilliant people though.
No, it is, mate. Right, I've got some daft questions for you, Craig.
Love
So,
it.
any pre-match superstitions, mate?
Um, None in particular. There's just one little thing. I just like a little ankle roll. Don't know what it is. Just I don't know. It doesn't even finger. That's the only thing I can think of that I have to do. I don't know if that's because of ankle injuries and stuff like that, but it has to be like an intense ankle roll. But that's it.
Oh, that's fair enough. So, this next word, mate, is different for everybody, definition-wise, but the toughest player you played with and against.
Toughest player played with. Ooh, no. It's a game full of tough blokes in it. It's hard to answer it. Toughest
Yeah.
bloke you've played with. I would probably have to go with who it is. I think if you look at Sam, I know I will constantly revert back to Sam because I was a fan of Tompkins as a kid and stuff. I think, but when you look what he did and you look how much flack he was getting for still be able to perform at that, he must have been. You've got to have some like a tough kind of mindset for cop all that crap. Go to Australia, New Zealand, and get told that you've gone to the wrong club. You've gone to New Zealand, get injured, come back, reinvent yourself, do it all again, retire, and come back, and he'll still do something ridiculous this year. And I do
Oh, he was
personally,
special, and he.
yeah, and I'm rooting for them because I've got good friends there, Ollie P's over there, and I hope they do really well. So I would go with Sam in such a different take on it of playing with. Because again, there's not the game's probably not what it is it? With
Oh, it's
with
strange.
Sam, he's the poster boy and he does dabble in like going playing at the Barbarians and stuff like that. It's bold and I admire that. I think that's toughness for me. For some, and he come back from setbacks. He was told he was too small and things like that, and
He nearly
still
signed for Witness as a kid. He was that far away from, yeah.
and still defied the odds of it. So yeah, I'd probably go with Sam because and then you're on the lines with yeah, it's probably because I played with Sam, definitely. But on the same side as that, I think seeing Don Manfreda go through the injuries and the setbacks that he went through, and then the type of player he is, um, he's harder than Dog's head, Dom, and he's got that mindset as well for take that long out, for come back, do it again within the game, for do it again, then come back and then do what he did in grand final. I admire that. I think that's something. Yeah, something very. That's tough. That's very very tough. Those kind of examples, and then you say, good friends of mine, Dan Sargentson playing in the grand final after his brother passing. Josh Woods fought tech was around the field against Bradford after the passing of Ben. That's tough. That's admirable for me in another sense of the word, opposed to where people go put his head in a place that's not finger. I think that's my kind of admiration, my place of it.
I like that, mate. I like that because rugby's just a finer detail of life. They're beyond life, aren't they? And they're still going out
Yeah.
and doing the business. So your favourite away ground, mate?
Favourite away. Why is it? Oh, It's gonna kill me confirming this because all the Leeds lads say it's always sunny in Leeds, and when they come over that border, it's grey and miserable. It's always been sunny when I've played at Edinburgh. Oh,
Loads of fellas love
academy
it. Yeah.
scholarship. There's something about Edinburgh. Is it like an hybrid between old and new? I can't put my finger on it, but there's something about Edinburgh. So when you said
It's
that, I'm
meant
just like Edinburgh. I don't know
it's
what
meant to
it
be
is.
horrible. You're not meant to enjoy it, are you? But for that many
I
people
don't
to
know.
say it, there is something about it, isn't there?
It must be built on some holy ground or something like that, Edinburgh. It just feels good when you get there as well. I don't know. It's kind of like they've picked up what Catalan have, the fencing of the thing getting into the ground in the middle of Leeds, and then they still get a little bit of the sun. But the same again, you can't deny going to Catalan's Perpignan's unbelievable, isn't it? Is it Stade de Gilbert? Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
the ground?
I've not
You
been,
can't,
mate, but yeah, lads enjoy it, don't they? You know what
yeah,
I mean?
can't knock it, especially when you're going as 18, 19th man.
Yeah. Mate, if you could tell a younger Craig something, what would it be?
um, Opportunities, take them all. Anything. I firmly believe that I practice this a lot. But a fella come up to me and said, "You inspired me." He brought his young lad over. I know him through college. He brought his young lad over, and I'm going off on a tangent again. Um, and he said he gives that to his finger. Do everything, anything for if it's your first time, do it. There's a first for everything. Go and have a knock at it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. And it was part. I was doing. It was religious studies and whirling dervishes are in. I don't know if you've seen them. Crazy. There's the spiritual stuff to it and the connect Earth to them. It's meant to be a direct portal. They're spinning around it, and we got a crack at putting the headset and the dress on and having a full on go of it. And then it probably what he said to me he said it's mad because I thought you, England Academy, Wigan Warriors player, that sort of stuff. Thought that'd be well not up your alley. He said I jumped straight in and I said to him, "When are you going to get the opportunity to do this again?" So just do it. Take the opportunity to go, have a go with them, whatever it is. Knock yourself out. Like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But God knows you might find a new hobby or passion somewhere, wouldn't you? So just do that.
I
Try
like that,
everything.
mate. I like that. So you've had a few beers, mate. You've managed to not have to do the nudie roll, but the microphone ends up in your hand. What are you giving us?
I've recently evolved. I've gone from what once was Uncle Cracker, follow me. So I think I'm a bit of Sam Sparrow, black and gold now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Sam Sparrow, black and gold. So if anybody from Leigh East is watching it, no, I'm not doing it.
And if he does do it, please send it me. Right, man. If you're willing to, a 1 to 13 that you played with so far. So I don't think your rugby story's finished, mate. Like professionally, I don't.
Well, we might catch the bug for it again. We'll see. I'm going to go off complete chemistry, absolute 100 chemistry. I'm going for. So I didn't get
Yeah.
set the agenda, was it performance wise? Because I don't think my career goes off that. I think it goes absolute vibes. So one, it's on the buzz on whether we've won or lost. It's got to be Sam Tompkins at one on it. Really, I can't say I admire him so much in a tough sense and not expect him coming by the beers on the coach home. I won't mind be a penny behind him.
I know.
Two, got to be well, my wings. I'm going Don Manfreda.
Yeah.
Got to be. I'm gonna land. This backfield is gonna be backline carriers for days. I'm gonna go Burgess then, Joe Burgess on the other wing.
On the other
Don
wing. Yeah.
Burgess, yes. Gellin from the time at Leigh, because the
Mm.
stories that come with Gels alone are ridiculous. Young bull, old bull.
Yeah.
Shout out the boys. Um, Dan Sargent's got to be my other centre. I think played the game tough. Good friend of mine. A lot of respect for him. I think I'd love to take to the field of him on my side. Um, and every one of those in backfield bar Sam are taking 20 plus carries for you.
And not scared of returning there, are they?
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. Six. I'm gonna go with Bond Street's very own Martin Ridyard. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Martin Ridyard for my six. Only because my seven, absolutely had to be Josh Woods. It couldn't have been anyone else. So I thought he was going to compliment him very well. 8, I'm going to have to go with Benny Flower because we got really close in our time when he was at Leigh. I really appreciated Benny through that time. Liam Mudd, absolute character, and really, really tough player, but a great asset to a team as well. I love spending time with Oda. There's not anybody that he wouldn't wind up, whether it was your head coach, your CEO, your water boy, whoever. Honestly, there's not a person that he wouldn't wind up, and that's probably because it brings me back to one of my back rowers, which we'll get to in a minute. Mitch Clark, number 10. I couldn't have one roommate without the other. My big Uso looked after us through Newcastle, got me out of trouble, got me into trouble, got me out of it again. Back rower, legend of a man, recently retired. I think Willie Isa. Every team needs a Willie Isa. For me, he's a legend of a bloke. I wish him well in retirement. And I think everybody needs that kind of character within the team. He's like the ultimate professional, but 100% bloke and great person. My other back rower, so long as they don't have to defend, and so Liam would have somebody go out instead of me. I'm going to go Geordie Thompson. Is at York. I think you'd be very, very surprised about Geordie Thompson and what he's capable of. Whilst he can't pass, he's a very, very skillful player. I can't get my head around it. He's got the worst
He's
pass.
tough fella as well, isn't he?
Incredibly tough. And do you know
Yeah.
what? I was really, really fit in the year that I transitioned to Leigh, coming straight out the Wigan system, and he pushed me to my limits, which was crazy for a bloke who looks like he does. Honestly, yeah, it's admirable what he could put his body through. 13 would have to be Sean O'Loughlin for me. Yeah, just because you need a captain and a leader in there, don't you? And I think that's your man for the job. And again, I think when it comes to it, I think he can still perform when it comes to coach trip home or a Mad Monday or whatever it be as well. And then honourable mentions, my 14 would have to be Mikey Bishia because London Scholars have to get a shout out. And I'd have Ollie Partington and the Cattle Dragons carry me walk back, just like we used to when we were 18 together. So yeah, I couldn't leave him. He's there for morale.